Hey everybody, I have Humble the Poet here. He is going to share with us his story about being in debt and getting out of it. So tell my viewers a little bit about what you do on your channel.
So I go by the name of Humble the Poet. I am a rapper, an author, and I put words together for everything else in between.
And I'll put all the links to his stuff in the description so you can check out what he does on YouTube and his books and all of that wonderful stuff. But today we're going to talk a little bit about being in debt. And I know you put out a video about it before, and I'll also link that in the description. But tell my viewers, I guess we'll start at the beginning, kind of like how it started, what happened.
Well, the ironic thing was I got in debt when I started making money. So before, when I didn't have any money, I couldn't go into debt.
Isn't
So
that true? Like you get used to spending it, I think, or something. Like when you're broke, you're just broke.
yeah, when you don't have money, you're not thinking about money. You're not really worried about the money because you don't have any of it to worry about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
What happened was I went to school and I got a degree in education, and I got hired as a school teacher, and I got hired in the month of May for the following September. And knowing that I had a job coming meant I was going to spend the entire summer spending money I didn't have on my credit card. So that kind of started it off. And then once I started the job, it took 3 months just to pay off that credit card debt for me enjoying my summer. And when it comes to salary, you kind of have no surprises. You know exactly how much money you're going to make every 2 weeks. So you slowly start allocating every single dollar of that paycheck. So, this much money is going to go to my cell phone. This much money is going to my car insurance. This is going to my car. This is going to some other service that I probably don't need. And, there's
Totally.
unlimited opportunities to spend your money these days. And when you know exactly how much money you have, you become much more automated in that. So I started living that life and buying stuff I didn't need. And eventually, I thought the secret was to get more money so I could buy more stuff. And I started getting a little risky with my money, started learning about investing, but not learning as much as I did just straight investing, not knowing what I was doing. And that kind of got me into a hole. And then I started learning about lines of credit. And the next thing I knew, 2, 3 years later, I accumulated a gang of debt. But I thought it was manageable because I had my day job and I still had that money coming in, and I allocated parts of my salary to making all my minimum payments on my lines of credit, on my credit card, and all of that stuff. It wasn't until I actually left my full-time job to become an artist where everything kind of changed, because now I didn't have that regular money coming in, but I was also still spending because I had actually thought I was going to be coming into some money and actually a record deal. So what ended up happening was, because I was told that that paperwork was going to take a little while, I did the same thing I did when I became a teacher. I spent money I didn't have, thinking that it was going to come soon, I was going to pay it off. And what changed for me was I actually had to go to people to get some money. And that's when I kind of had my realization that I was just trying to dig myself out of a hole and really just getting deeper and deeper. And now I was no longer faceless banks who I didn't have a relationship with. These were my really good friends. Some were family members. These were people that I cared about, and I didn't want to destroy that relationship. It was more so the issue that I got to a point where I couldn't see where I was going to make money to pay them back.
Yeah, like
So
there's
then,
nothing coming in. I don't know where my next paycheck. Like I don't
yeah,
have any steady
exactly.
income.
Yeah, so it wasn't
Yeah.
like I could pay them back in increments. It wasn't back. I couldn't do anything. It was I had no way to pay them back, and they meant something to me. These are people that I cared
Yeah.
about, and I didn't want to become the people that we all know that borrow money then disappear from you.
hmm
And I learned that they're not disappearing because they're bad people. Some of them, they're ashamed.
Yeah.
They feel guilty. They don't know how to handle it. They don't want to be seen in public spending any money around you.
Yeah,
You know
because
what
they
I mean?
haven't paid you back.
They haven't
Like,
paid you back. So
yeah.
I didn't want to become that person because I have experienced those people before
Yeah, and that could be isolating, I'd imagine. You
completely.
know, like, 'cause those, you're not going to ask for money from people you don't see all the time or people you don't talk to and know well.
There's people that care about you, and people care about your well-being. And the
Exactly.
last thing I want to do was be somebody who would take advantage of people who care about me.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I got into debt, because the people I was doing business at the time with, I considered them very good friends, and they took advantage of my kindness and my trust. And whatever money I thought was coming in turned out to be completely fraudulent. So I had no money coming in, and I had accumulated even more debt at that time. So I think it was probably maybe a full year since leaving my job. So I think it was the end of 2011 when I kind of came to this realization that there is no magic check coming in the mail.
Yeah.
There is no lottery winnings that's going to happen. There's no big break, you know.
You think of that stuff though. That's the thing. Like, if anybody's ever been in debt, or like I had student loans up the wazoo, and like you dream of like, oh, all of a sudden like this thing will go through, and people will promise. Especially, I find being a YouTuber, being in, I guess we're kind of like creatives in a creative space where. So we always think like, oh, that deal might go through. Maybe I'll get that check for whatever X.
Or maybe this video will go viral.
Exactly.
I get a big check off of that.
Yeah.
And I learned that there's three things that we all do when we encounter a problem. And we do this as a society, we do this as individuals. When we encounter a problem, we have three options. Option A is we ignore it and things just get worse.
Yeah.
Option B is we pray for a miracle.
Yeah.
Whether it be a lottery ticket, whether we're thinking, that, for example, when we talk about the environment, the miracle that everybody's kind of depending on is science to solve all our environmental problems. And number three, which is the one that we all could do, but we don't, is take a step back, stop, reevaluate the situation, and excuse the pun, but humble ourselves to a healthier level to deal with either our environmental situation, our financial situation, or what have you. And so I went through the denial and I let it get worse. Then I started praying for the miracle.
Yeah.
Or even pursuing quick money gigs, some which weren't even above board. I started meeting some shady people who were trying to put me in situations because they knew I was desperate, but they actually took advantage of me even more.
Yeah.
And then finally I came to the point where I realized nothing is going to happen until I, buckle up and become a responsible adult and address this realistically.
Totally. So what was that? Because that's kind of more what I'm interested in, is like the shift in yourself when you, because we've already kind of gone through like how it happened and then realizing it. Did you ever, how did you start talking about it? I guess that's the next thing, like to friends or family, like were you just like, I can't afford to do that? Like, I think that's the struggle I hear from a lot of my viewers. Like, how do I turn things down or say no? Like, but I literally can't afford it and I just keep going into more debt.
Completely. I think, it's a two-part thing, especially when it comes to money. It's focusing on making money, but as well, the more important one is focusing on how you spend the money you make.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I did, and this was a lot of people actually telling me, it wasn't that I had originally just come up with the idea to just sort myself out. A lot of people were like, listen, man, no money's coming in. You gotta figure something out. And you might have to sell some of the stuff you own. I lived on my own at that time. I'd owned a property. I was living on my own. I had a lot of stuff. I had a lot of equipment. I was making music. I had a lot of really bad computers. I had a whole bunch of stuff that some of it I didn't even need.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I remember pretty much looking around my apartment and saying, what do I need to survive? And putting everything else on Craigslist. And in Canada, we have something called Kijiji, which is the equivalent. You guys have that here?
No, I know because Sean's Canadian.
Okay.
He's talking about Kijiji.
Yeah, so Kijiji and Craigslist became my friends. And legitimately, everything that wasn't bolted to the floor, and I sold everything. All my furniture, I sold all my equipment, I sold my camera, and I sold them for, discounted prices because I was desperate. And I sold all of that, and then I eventually sold my place, which was heartbreaking because I had spent a solid 6-7 years saving up for that place. But I couldn't afford a mortgage payment anymore. I wasn't renting, I owned it. So I sold that. I had to move back home with my parents. As an adult, that wasn't feeling too good for the pride. But I mean, they were happy to have me back.
I'm sure.
They were more so like, we don't care if you make $1 million tomorrow, don't ever leave again.
I'm sure.
Because they like to just kind of keep me close and watch. And I mean, in addition to that, I had lost about 20 pounds.
I'm sure.
And I'm not
stressed.
20 pounds from what you see here. This is me at a healthy weight. Imagine me 20 pounds more. So
you were sick.
I was just a beard, pretty much. It's a lot of stress, and I didn't notice it. You don't really notice your weight loss on a daily basis looking in the mirror. You need somebody else who hasn't seen you for a while to kind of point it out. And I was also, super stressed. I was making really irresponsible decisions. I was drinking a lot of NyQuil to go to sleep because I was just self-medicating just because I didn't know what to deal with, and I felt like most of my solutions were to wait on things to kind of work out. So I was like, I'm just gonna sleep today, and then things will just kind of work out. So I remember when I finally had my awakening, I had printed up a lot of motivational quotes, but they weren't really positive and inspiring. They were a lot more aggressive. So it was like, you want a vacation, go back to your day job. This is sink or swim. This is go time. Are you built for this? And just put them all over the wall. So now while I was fixing up the apartment to get it sold, I just had all these on the wall and just woke up every morning, and all I had was a chair and a very tiny desk. And then every day I just figured out and worked on it. And I started talking to people about just, what ways are creatives making money. I went back to my old job, started talking to them about the options, and bless my principal, she actually said, I'll take you back. I had gone to her in December, and I said, can I start back in January? And she said, if you can do me a favor, if you can hold off till September, I can give you a better position in September. Do you think you could survive for 6 more months? And I didn't really tell her it was about finances. I just said I'm thinking about coming back. And I said, sure. So then I told myself, you have 6 months to figure this out, or you're going back.
Yeah.
And then within that 6 months, I started learning a little bit more about our business, what works on behind the scenes. Whether it be, I learned about crowdfunding. I crowdfunded my first book. So many of you who are watching this, who have read my books or who are learning about me now, you guys completely helped me get out of that hole. And I focused first on paying off my friends and the people who had lent me money, and my family as well. I made sure that these people that I knew understood that they did not make a mistake lending me that money. And once that was settled, then I spent slowly, probably about 3 years, paying off all my bank debts and my loans. And pretty much I spent next to nothing. I didn't do anything luxurious. I didn't take any trips. A lot of bachelor parties that my friends were having, I skipped out on them. A lot of wedding stuff. They needed it. Oh, everyone's going to be wearing this color suit. Everyone's going to be doing this. I skipped out on all of it. I let them know I didn't have the money for it. And I think it really matters if the type of people you surround yourself with, because it does impact your priorities. So, at one point I was dating a girl who put a lot in my head, like, yo, if you're not a man if you don't have your own place. You're not a man if you can't take care of this, if you don't drive this. And later on, meeting other people, I later on met another girl who said, what type of guy would leave his parents to move out on his own? You need to stay with your family. You need to, you know what I mean?
Different priorities.
Different people, different priorities. And God bless my friends. They've never, held my finances over my head. If I said I couldn't afford something, at one point they all chipped in and bought me it for one of these trips, because they said there's not an option for you to miss it. And it was a tricky time. But I think from pretty much middle of 2011 to the end of 2014, it was just keeping my head down and working, saving, not spending any money on anything I didn't need to spend it on. Even my own work, I wasn't investing in stuff that could even help my work at that time. I was just saving. And then October 2014, I got out of debt. And it was
I know. I was like, do you remember writing the last check or sending the last payment in?
It was.
I would want to throw. I'd dance in my house.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I had sent in a payment online, and then I would check. It takes a couple of days to process, and I would check it every single day, and I overpaid it by $200
to make sure that
just to make sure. Yeah, because I think because sometimes they'll put some interest on it. And I didn't want to see any of that. So it was definitely October, I remember. And then I just remembered a good piece of advice somebody had said, actually to my father, because my father had paid off his house mortgage very quickly. And he said, well, once you paid off that house mortgage, keep making mortgage payments or put them somewhere else.
To yourself, to save or to something,
So then I'm like, look, if you were able to pay off a boatload of debt.
How much was it, if you don't mind?
It was probably in the ballpark about $80,000.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. That's like my student loan debt. This gives me hope.
And going back to the original question, it's having that honest conversation with yourself is important. It brings up anxiety, it brings up shame, it brings up guilt, it brings up a lot of regret, a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas. But any moment is a new moment to stop that. Things that feel like they're going out of control and and they're getting away from you, you gotta just press the pause button, stop, take a breath, figure it out, and it's gonna be a slow, semi-painful process. But you'll make baby steps every day, and the progress will add up.
Yeah, and I'm curious, what advice would you give to either humble, let's say 6-7 years ago, or to someone who's in debt now?
Well, if it was myself, there would be a little bit of physical violence involved as well, a lot of smacking.
What are you doing?
Yeah. To be honest, I want to say especially if there's anybody here still in high school or going to university, especially for your age, credit cards are the devil. When you actually physically hold money in your hand and you spend it, you will feel it. Swiping a card, the reason they exist is because that affects you psychologically and you don't realize how much money you're spending. And I think a lot of the times we spend money on things that we think might be important because we see everybody else spending money on it, but it's not. It's really not. Stuff will never make you happy. Yes. And I mean, it's left me with a phobia of debt. So, I mean, I am not even comfortable. Like, if Katie gave me $5 right now to go buy something because I didn't have the cash on me, it will stay with me, even if Katie forgets about it. There's a lot of friends, I hand them $20, $40 for something that they covered once, and they don't remember why. But for me, that anxiety that comes with being in debt, I just don't ever want it ever again. Nothing is more valuable than your peace of mind.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. Want to leave us with a little bit of your spoken word talent?
Sure. Raindrops, doing laps like a stopwatch, rapping all the way to the top spot. I won't ever stop till the guap slide. Even then, I'ma spend it all to my hot flops. In a room full of goons masked up like a Slipknot. From the womb to the tomb, I am hip hop. You assume I can do what I cannot. I'ma prove I can do what you cannot. Cardi B booty in a hoopty, hanging out the window, screaming, "New Year, new me." Sometimes I'm Lupe, sometimes I'm Dickie. Animal Ambition 50, rapping a beat, singing off key. Say you go cock up or bump upon me. Watch how I do this so effortlessly and magnificently. I'm the best on this beat and the rest can't compete.
Ooh! For more of that, click the links down below. See you guys next time.